So Deontay Wilder is back. He knocks out Gerald Washington in the fifth round, which was well, it was an interesting fight to say the least. The reason why I say that is because Deontay Wilder was in a very unusual situation. He was fighting a guy who was much bigger than him, who was much more talented than the previous fighters that he's fought, and this is a guy who's in his prime and is up and coming, Gerald Washington. Now, I have to say though, to much of Deontay Wilder's surprise and my surprise, Gerald Washington actually fought as the aggressor in the first four rounds of this fight. I mean, we would expect him to fight off the back foot to be very, very cautious, but he was actually pressing the action against Wilder. He was controlling with the jab. He was making him think twice or maybe three times. He kept Wilder at bay with his jab, and that was very impressed by Washington. He was actually the aggressor in there. The thing about Deontay, I noticed in early on in this fight, he was very, very I'm not going to use the word timid. I think he was very more reluctant to throw that right hand because he was he was probably thinking in his head that, dude, if I really throw a lot of mustard in that hand, I'm going to re-injure it again. Because he was hardly throwing it in the first two rounds or maybe the three rounds or so because, he was playing it cautious. He wanted to make it safe. Just to be fair to Deontay, he is coming off a very, very pretty long layoff from the injury he had with Chris Arreola. And whatnot. But he started to pick up, the steam a little bit because he did definitely lose the first two rounds of the fight, according to my scorecard. I'm not sure how the judges scored it, but he definitely lost the first two rounds, or maybe perhaps the third round. But I know in the third round, I think it was the third round, where he threw a body shot that landed perfectly in the midsection of Gerald Washington. To me, I think that slowed down Washington because Washington was actually fighting off the back foot right after Wilder landed that left. It was a left body shot, a left hook body shot, and it had Gerald Washington go back a little bit. Then he started to reset and start come forward a little bit. So I definitely gave the first four rounds to Washington, and Wilder was able to press the action on him, start to make him move back a little bit. And then he caught him with a short right in the inside, and then Washington was gone from that. He was literally had no legs. I mean, when he got knocked down, he got up quickly, which I think that was a mistake for him to do that. I think he should have at least took the 8 count and then got back up so that way he'll have some validity, gain enough senses in his validity in his senses, whatnot. But yeah, he was gone. After that, Wilder came in, poured in, the referee jumped in and stopped the fight because Washington had no legs. He was wobbling all over the ring in the fifth round. But again, I was very impressed by his strategy. He actually pressed the action. He kept Wilder at back. He was a much bigger man. Deontay was a little bit taller than him, but you couldn't really tell the difference in the fight. You would also say that Wilder and Gerald Washington was almost the same height in there, but obviously Gerald Washington was a much bigger man as far as the weight width is concerned. But and looking at this fight, Anthony Joshua was probably thinking, you know what, based off what Gerald Washington was able to do with that jab, I could probably have some success with that because, we all know that Anthony Joshua doesn't have the reach like Gerald Washington does, but, Anthony Joshua was probably thinking, if I can blind Wilder with my combinations, then I can, I would have some more success because Wilder couldn't even see Washington's jabs coming in. So that was something that, that's telling right there. But then again, though, the difference is that Anthony Joshua, and I like Anthony Joshua, but I have to point out, this is worth pointing out, is that Anthony Joshua stands too upright. He doesn't really move his head a lot. So the difference is, and he doesn't have upper lateral movement, as opposed to Gerald Washington, who does have upper lateral movement. He does move his head extremely well. So, somewhat, interesting win for Deontay Wilder. It was a good win. Definitely he was down. He was losing this fight. He lost the first four rounds until he came in and knocked him out. But as Evander Holyfield said, and shout out to Evander Holyfield, the real deal, the Hall of Famer, who was on the commentary of this fight, he did mention that sometimes, hey, even if you're losing rounds, you have to be patient. I mean, you are fighting a different opponent that you're accustomed to in your previous fights, and you're going to have to figure out a way to be patient, find a way to catch him at a good time, and that's exactly what Deontay did. So, I mean, and another thing Evander had pointed out is that Deontay didn't really show the urgency. He just found the right time to get him. So that's exactly what he did. So, definitely a good win for Deontay Wilder. What's next for him? I know Luis Ortiz is lurking around in that division. So is Carlos Takam, I believe. So is Dillian White. Definitely want to see Wilder fight one of those guys, man. Definitely want to see one of those fights, man. Dominic Brazil may be in line for a shot against Deontay Wilder. That'd be an interesting fight. Again, Wilder will be fighting another guy who's taller than him and is bigger than him, who's has a longer reach than him. So definitely another interesting fight. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what let me know what your thoughts are about this fight. Care to comment, share, subscribe. Signing off. Peace.